Sin City, where the Strip is lined with invitations for gambling, guns, and girls. Just about anything goes in Vegas, but one thing not going anywhere is Uber. The ride-sharing technology darling of Silicon Valley isn't feeling the love from the Silver State, where it has no permit to operate. There's a $400 million taxi turf war here in Vegas. A handful of cab companies dominate the rides at the airport, the Strip, and the convention center, and just about everywhere else. Uber wants in on the action. It briefly set up shop last October in Nevada before a judge ordered them to shut down, and the taxi industry came out swinging.
There's almost a sting that was helped organize by some of one of the cab companies.
One of the cab companies?
One of the cab companies.
Rick Vallata is a veteran reporter at the Las Vegas Review-Journal. We talked during a spin on the Strip.
One of the executives within it, one of the technology guys within them, so they just decided, well, we're going to get a ride, we're going to hire them, and then we're going to call the taxi cab authority and let them know where we're going so that the taxi cab authority could be right there ready for them as soon as they got out of the car. And that's exactly what happened.
These photos of the incident were taken by the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Officers were reportedly wearing ski masks, bulletproof vests, and guns. On the face of it, it looks like you're basically deploying a bunch of troops to handle a cartel rather than folks who shuffle people from one place to the next.
And I think that was one of the things that the taxi cab authority realized afterwards, is that it looked pretty over the top.
Call it a sting or a stunt. The taxi cab industry flexed its muscle. When people talk about the taxi cab industry here, they often refer to it as a cartel.
Yes, they do.
Why is that?
Well, because they have so much control over what's going on within the industry. They have a control over that just because they have so many connections over the period of time that they've been here. Families have been in charge of some of these different companies for years and years, for generations, for at least 3 generations in some cases.
Vallata says Nevada has been the toughest market for Uber to crack.
And it's also the place where they want to be the most because of our tourism economy. 41 million visitors to Las Vegas. Imagine how many of those already have an Uber app and know who they are. So this is a market that's just perfect for them if they could operate legally.
Uber is used to getting its way, legal or not. It's rolled into 41 states and 300 cities worldwide, many times arguing current laws don't apply to them. Why? They say they're a technology company, not a transportation company. We tried to find out what the difference is from Uber spokesperson Ava Barron. The common person on the street would ask, what's the difference between a regular car company that basically gets requests from prospective consumers via telephone, and Uber, which essentially processes requests through, picking up your cell phone?
So Uber is a technology company that licenses that software to drivers who then are connected with riders for different, whether it be for a connection to, the Strip from Summerlin, or in some parts of the country we're connecting people to food. In some parts of the country we're connecting people to delivery services.
What I'm not hearing there is just bear with me, is what is the difference? What's the difference between taking a taxi cab and taking an Uber?
Sure, so
I mean, why wouldn't the laws that any taxi cab company has to abide by apply to Uber?
Here, it's people using their personal vehicles, using an application to connect with people, and maybe only 10 hours a week they're using it to give you a ride or somebody else a ride.
Bartender David Edis doesn't care about the difference. He took an Uber ride and would like to again. David, do you want to see Uber back in town?
I think that'd be a great idea.
Why?
If you're not on the Strip in an area that's like valeted and stuff, sometimes it's really difficult to find a taxi.
You can't find a taxi in Vegas with all these yellow cabs I see?
Well, if you're walking up to a casino, like valet areas and things like that, yes, all day long. They rotate in and out. But as far as being off the Strip or anything like that, or away from any of the hotels, it starts getting a lot more complicated. I personally waited over an hour to try to get picked up from a restaurant.
A poll by the Las Vegas Review-Journal showed more than 60% of respondents would prefer to take an Uber in Vegas. But so far, the taxi cartel has managed to keep them out.
It's just the way things get done in this town. At the same time, it's kind of frustrating for somebody who's trying to enter the market.
Not one new taxicab company has been allowed to open in Las Vegas since May 2001.
We have about 1,000 vehicles.
And if Jonathan Schwartz has his way, Uber won't open up either.
Uber is an unsafe operator, in our opinion.
Schwartz owns 3 cab companies in Vegas, about 20% of the market share. He says Uber doesn't have to comply with the same rules he must, involving things like car maintenance and background checks. Uber likes to say that they are a technology company rather than a transportation company. Do you buy that?
I don't buy it at all. They are a transportation company, and they should comply with the same set of rules we do. Uber came into this state and they violated the law, and that's their business model throughout the country.
If Uber is allowed to do business in Vegas, Schwartz says he may have to lay off some of his 2,000 employees, folks like driver Michael Ballin.
My wife, we were able to get her through college where she became a high school teacher. My oldest son graduated from Willamette University, degree of economics. My second son graduated from UNR, and I have 2 in college right now.
And he says he did it all on his taxicab salary. In Clark County, which includes Las Vegas, by law, taxi drivers are considered employees and receive benefits like health insurance and 401ks, something they won't get driving with Uber. The cab drivers here in Las Vegas are specifically concerned because they believe if Uber becomes successful, that they may lose their jobs at their cab companies and will be compelled to work for Uber, which does not provide these hard benefits that they've become accustomed to. Isn't that a legitimate concern on the part of hundreds of drivers here who've made a living doing this?
We're actually opening up the transportation ecosystem and actually creating even more opportunity.
That transportation ecosystem won't pay for things like trips to the hospital or dentist visits.
The vast majority of drivers are worried that they're going to come into our market and ruin the good thing we have here.
The fight over Uber has moved from the Strip to Carson City, the capital. That's where 2 bills which would allow Uber to operate have unleashed armies of lobbyists from both sides. How many lobbyists and consultants do you have working on this issue right now?
Oh, I think it's about 10 at this point. We've got to compete with Uber. Uber, I think, has 16.
Uber may need all of those lobbyists, given the long-standing connections between the taxicab companies and the legislature. How far-reaching does that power extend? I mean, does it extend from Las Vegas all the way to Carson City, the capital?
Oh yes, what you're talking about is people who have been in the industry for a long time, having relationships with these people who have been in the legislature for a long time, and it just keeps passing on.
Do we also have situations where there are former industry types who go on to become politicians in Carson City?
And the other way around too. We've got a couple of places where we've had people who have been in the legislature are now top officers in transportation companies. So it goes both directions.
The taxicab companies have donated at least $750,000 in the past year to various officials in Carson City, and it may have paid off. The Uber bill was effectively killed just this week. The company will have to wait 2 years to get another bill introduced.
We're not going to be like everybody else, and sometimes that means that we put the brakes on progress. Sometimes it means that we don't accept things that are accepted every place else. So that's just the way Nevada is.
So while the rest of the country rushes to embrace the Uber phenomenon, Nevada is going its own way. Michael Oku, Al Jazeera, Las Vegas.